I'd like to call the Kent County Planning Commission to order, and we'll take the roll. So we got Sean Jones. Here. Paula Reeder.
Here.
William Crowding.
Here.
Paul Ruge, that's myself. And we're missing 3 members this week, so
Weeks.
we just made it. And first thing we'll do is the minutes. Everybody read the minutes?
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
As presented. Do we have a second?
One
Any
question,
corrections?
Paul. I saw where they redid them. I'm on there as being present. I wasn't here at that meeting, so
Okay,
that's the only change I saw.
got it.
Okay, so we have a motion.
So we amend the motion to accept the minutes
Sounds good.
as amended.
And we'll have a second again? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, now we're into the first part. We have 5 proposed ag preservation districts.
And before we get into the main agenda, I'd like to ask that we go into executive session for some legal advice relating to the next item on the agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We'll be right back in a few minutes. Okay, I'd like to re-adjourn the meeting. I'd like to report there was no action taken in the session that we just had, so therefore we'll move on with the agenda.
And just to clarify for the record that the session was closed for purposes of legal advice. And the statute, let me see if I can. I don't want to say the incorrect statute number, but it was for legal advice pursuant to Section 3-305B7 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code.
Okay. And we have in front of us, the first agenda item is the proposed ag preservation districts. And there's a list of 5 of them, and what I'd like to do is we'll take each one individually. Instead of as a group, we'll just go along each one individually. We'll have description, and we'll kind of go from there. So,
Hello, my name is Rob Tracy. I'm an associate planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. Today I'm before you to present 5 ag districts to forward a recommendation to the county commissioners. These districts received a favorable recommendation from the Agricultural Preservation Advisory Commission. Chapter 171-5 includes the criteria for the review and recommendation of agricultural preservation districts. For some background, the Agricultural Preservation District is an agreement between the landowner and the county commissioners, saying that they won't develop the property for 3 years, and this opens the door to apply for a malfeasance. So the applicable laws and the criteria in this case are a minimum of 50 acres, at least 50% of land consisting of soil capabilities class 1, 2, or 3, and then generally the land lies outside of the 10-year water or sewer area, and that the property is used primarily for the production of food or fiber, and that it meets all the other requirements for mouth easement. So starting with the first application, 2301 BGM Farms, they would like to create a district on their 276.5 acre farm located at 33824 Johnson Road near Gultz. The farm consists of approximately 162 acres of cropland, 102 acres of cropland, and 162 acres of woodland. The property meets the soil capacity with 74% of the soils qualifying as class 1, 2, or 3. The property is zoned AZD and is also within the priority preservation area. The farm is not adjacent to any districts and easements, but is outside of the area, outside of the area for the 10-year water and sewer. Staff would recommend a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners.
okay, first, is there anybody from the public that would like to make any kind of comment? If not, anybody on the council would like to make a comment?
Oh, it is across the road from an easement though, is it not?
So the map behind you, the farm in question is the pink farm in the right-hand corner. Across the road, there is, I believe, a farm that is in agricultural preservation. However, it's not directly adjacent to it, so I didn't count that as adjacent.
I have a question just for information. On your maps in our packet, there are lots that are colored green and there are lots that are colored blue. What do those signify?
Yes, that's a good question. So the green signifies a mouth easement, and the blue represents a agricultural preservation district with the county.
Do we know how long those have been in existence?
I apologize, I don't have that information offhand. I could collect that information for you if needed, but I apologize, I don't have that information at hand.
But the blues may be eligible to go into preservation in the next calendar year, is that correct?
The blue signifies that they have an agreement with the county, thereby letting them being eligible to sell an easement with, to apply to sell an easement with MALF.
Okay. But that could
Which
occur
at
as
this point
early.
means they could be in the 2024 or the 2025 cycle, correct?
So the upcoming application is 25, so they could have put
We
an
don't know
application
about
in on
24, so they
24.
wouldn't be approved yet, and 25 is already in, so
That's correct. Yep.
they would be either in the 2024 or the 2025.
Okay, all right.
Paul, how do you want to do this? Vote on these now individually?
We'll just,
Paul goes
let's do it
through 'em.
individually, and we'll just get her done. Any other comments?
Well,
Just a question on this one. Given the high percentage of woodlands of this lot, how does it meet the criteria for, one of the criteria is that it's significant, I mean, through your fiber, we don't know anything about the logging history, the woods, you know, was that taken into consideration? It just looks like a unproportionately high amount of woods.
Yeah, so the soils are calculated, the requirement is 50% class 1, 2, or 3. Although there is a large percentage of woodland, the overall soils on the property is 74% that classify as 1, 2, or 3, thereby meeting the requirement of 50%, so they exceed the 50% soil criteria.
I do have a concern about the location of this property and its proximity to other properties that are much smaller in size and are developable, and its road frontage on a main road that potentially would make the property desirable for residential development or other use. We only have 15% of the land in the county that is outside of agricultural priority districts, and of that, a lot of it's already developed. So I think the more land we continue to put in preservation that has desirable road frontage and proximity to other smaller developments, the more we girdle our ability as a county to improve our economic situation and to grow. So that's a concern.
Well, one of my, as far as that goes, the state of Maryland has a smart growth policy, and we're to direct growth towards existing infrastructure, towns, and so forth. I would say that developing a farm out near Massey and Golds probably isn't going to be. I would prefer to run children from a school bus right outside Chestertown than I would sending them up there to Massey to pick up one or two children. So I think this still fits into Maryland's smart growth policy, and that's part of the reason for ag preservation. It even says it in their comprehensive plan, that we should encourage growth towards existing towns and municipalities. This would stop, in my opinion, it would stop someone from going up there and cutting out 10 lots. If you could get the perk on them or whatever, and that's 10 less houses that we have to run police protection to, ambulance services, provide school buses for children and so forth. So that's my opinion on those.
Any other comments? I think I just have one. Also, too, it's just a thought. I'm looking at the property, and with the 3 units on the property within our ag district, we're allowed, what, the 10%? Has this already been subdivided? Has this already been?
It predates, current zoning.
It would predate it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Those are not recently subdivided lots.
Well, we'd have to go back to what was the date?
So the 10% rule would have kicked in 2003,
And this would have been, they would have been before that.
and I think this is even before 1989.
Okay. I'm just curious, because I see the 3 lot, when you get into the 10% and the 3 lots, that's just going to future possible subdivision that is mentioned. I'm just curious, that's all. So, all right.
Any of those 3 lots have existing houses on them?
Don't know.
I don't either. They may.
I think
They may.
they do. I think they do.
Yes, that's my point. They're
Yeah.
already developed, not potential future development.
Right.
I think, I don't know if all 3 of them do, but.
Well, where I was going with the 10% and with what Carla was saying was, you know, since it's predates, then they're still allowed to come up with 3 or 4 lots, you know, or the 10% part because of their property. Whereas if this, but you're only allowed to subdivide once, correct me if I'm wrong, you're only allowed to make one subdivision, so
No,
it may have already been done on this property.
No.
you can do subdivision as often as you want until you reach whatever the maximum percentage.
To you reach,
or the
right.
maximum density
Okay,
is.
I think he's talking about if you put it in the easement.
Right.
You can just get one for a family member or something like
That
that.
would depend on what the
Yeah.
property
Right.
owner selects.
All right.
okay.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Any other questions? Let's make a motion. Anybody?
I make a motion that we send a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners for 23-01 BGM Farms LLC to place an ag preservation district on 276.5 acres located at 33824 Bradford Johnson Road. The proposal complies with mouth criteria. The Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board has reviewed this application and recommended approval. As for those reasons, I make a motion we forward a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion? If not, please vote individually here, aye or nay. Mr.
Aye.
Jones? Mr. Wood?
Aye.
Nay.
Mr. Reed? And I'll vote aye. So it's 3-1. It's carried. Property number 2.
Thank you. So the next property is file number 2302 E&D Landholding LLC. They wish to create an agricultural preservation district on their 117-acre farm located at 29243 River Road near Millington in the second election district. This district can be seen on the lower part of the map, the farthest parcel down in Millington. The property meets the criteria for for countywide district. There's one dwelling on the house. The soils are made up of 83.3% of qualifying soils. And this property is adjacent to over 7,500 acres of easements that stretch from the Chester River to the Sassafras River. And this property is also outside of the 10-year water and sewer plan service areas. Staff would recommend sending a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners.
Okay. Anybody from the public have any comment? Seeing none, any comments from the board?
I have a question. The tax record says the property is totally zoned RCD, and your information suggests it's split.
Yeah, it is. I apologize. This is a split zoned AZD and RCD. So Resource Conservation District as well as Agricultural Zoning District.
The tax map, the county tax map says it's all RCD.
Okay.
Who's correct?
We would go with the county's information, GIS, do the Kent County Parcel Viewer. That would be the correct information.
And that's what you took?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What percentage is RCD?
I believe RCD has a density of 1 to 20 as opposed to.
No. What percentage of the 117 acres
I
is zoned
apologize.
RCD?
I don't have that information offhand.
Is it normal for land that's RCD to go into a preservation easement?
There's nothing that prohibits RCD from being entered into agricultural preservation. There are other instances within the county where that's happened.
Okay. Now, the tax map also says the land's served by sewer. Is that incorrect?
That is incorrect. I'm not sure
That's incorrect.
what you may have seen on the parcel viewer.
I went to the SDAT information.
Okay, so the information through the Maryland Assessment and Department of Taxation, their information is a little bit different than ours. Ours is a little bit more up-to-date and accurate as opposed to
Okay, okay.
that resource.
Are there any other comments? Entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we send a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners for 23-02 E&D Land Holdings LLC to create an agricultural preservation district on 117-acre farm located at 29243 River Road. The farm consists of Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 soils for a total of 201.1 acres and other. The proposal complies with MALIF criteria for applying to sell an easement. The Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board has reviewed the application and has recommended approval of the district. For those reasons, I make a motion to send a favorable recommendation.
Do I have a second?
I'll make a second, but it's 117 acres. There was a couple mistakes in the motion. You said 117, but then you have 201 in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's,
And with our wonderful minute keeping.
I read the wrong one.
That'll be
It's,
wrong.
it's 83.3 acres of Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 soils for 72% coverage of the farm. I'll amend it to that.
We have a motion
I'll
as
second
amended,
the motion.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain? And aye, therefore, motion is passed.
Thank you.
So, question on that, if she abstains, does that ruin the form? No, okay. It's been a while since Robert's rules, so. Okay, on to number 3.
Okay, so the next application is file number 2303A. This is Bloomfield Ventures LLC. They wish to create an agricultural preservation district on their 270-acre farm located at 1179 Black Station Road near Kennedyville in the 2nd Election District. The farm consists of 265 acres of cropland. Approximately 99% of the soils are considered Class 1, 2, or 3. There is one dwelling on the property, and the farm is zoned AZD, Agricultural Zoning District, and is also within the priority preservation area and is adjacent to approximately 7,500 acres of easements that stretch from the Chester River to the Sassafras River. And this is also outside of the 10-year water and sewer plan. Staff would recommend a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners.
Any comments from the public? From the board?
No, I have none.
Hearing
No,
Then we'll entertain a motion.
I guess I'm.
You're the automatic motion man today.
I make a motion that we send a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners for 23-03A Bloomfield Ventures LLC to create an agricultural preservation district on 270-acre farm located at 11791 Black Station Road. Let me make sure I got the right
Yeah, you're
one
good,
here.
You're good. We have a second.
Yeah, that's a second.
You're the second man. Any discussion?
I do have a question. These are both in blue on your map. Is it already in agricultural
So,
preservation district?
these haven't been created, so this body will be forwarding a recommendation to have that created.
No, I know, but on your map in the
It's just an
packet,
arrow.
they're already in blue.
They are not already districts.
I
Okay,
apologize about that.
Okay.
That's a typographical error on our end. I apologize.
okay.
So no change to the motion. Therefore, Sean?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Paula?
Aye.
Myself is aye. Number 4.
Very good, thank you. Next is file number 2303B, Bloomfield Ventures LLC. They wish to create agricultural preservation district on their 270-acre property located at 11720 Locust Grove Road near Kennedyville in the 2nd Election District. The farm consists of 269 acres of cropland, and approximately 98% of the soils are class 1, 2, or 3. There's one dwelling on the property, and the farm is zoned AZD and is within the priority preservation area. This farm is also located adjacent to approximately 7,500 acres stemming from the Chester River down to the Sassafras River, and is also outside of the 10-year water and sewer plan service areas. Staff would recommend a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners.
Any comments from the public? Comments from the board? No comments, therefore, need a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Safe. Make a motion to send a favorable recommendation for 23-03B Bloomfield Ventures LLC to create an agricultural preservation district on 270 acres located on 11720 Locust Grove Road near Kennedyville.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Paula?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passed. Okay, number 5.
Thank you.
Last one.
So our last application for a preservation district is Harmony Woods LLC, file number 2304. They wish to create a preservation district on their 200.14 acre farm located at 12655 Augustine Herman Highway near Kennedyville in the 2nd Election District. The farm consists of 161.4 acres of cropland, 24.5 acres of woodlands, and 14 acres of other lands, which is, they had ponds on their land. Approximately 94% of the soils are considered class 1, 2, or 3, and there's one dwelling on the property. The farm is zoned agricultural zoning district, AZD, and is also within the priority preservation area. Staff would recommend a favorable recommendation to the county commissioners.
Okay. Any discussion from the public? Seeing none from the board.
I have the same concern about this property that I had about the first one, because it essentially bifurcates the land that's available for Kennedyville to serve its future expansion needs. And also occupies a prime piece of road frontage to and from Kennedyville.
Any other comments? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we send a favorable recommendation to the Kent County Commissioners for 23-04 Harmony Woods Farm LLC to create an agricultural preservation district on 201.14 acres farm located at 12655 Augustine Herman Highway. Find that the proposal complies with mouth criteria for applying to sell an easement The Agricultural Preservation Advisory Board has reviewed that application and recommends approval of the districts.
Can I have a second?
No, second.
Have a vote. Paula?
Nay.
Bill?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
And I'm an aye at this point. Motion carried. Okay, that
Thank you, Paul.
takes care of those. Now we'll go.
Rob.
I'm sorry?
I'm talking to Rob.
Oh. And I think, Rob, I think is that it for you, I think? or-
So I'm actually next on the agenda
You
as
are
well
next on the
for
agenda.
Delmarva
Oh, yeah.
Power Station.
Okay, well, we'll go to the next agenda item, which is the Delmarva Power and Light Concept Site Plan Review. And if you'd like to make
Yes.
comment?
Yes, thank you. So my name is Rob Tracy. I'm an associate planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. I'm here today to present Delmarva Power and Light Company, MD, who's requesting concept site plan approval for improvements to the existing substation in Chestertown. The proposed upgrades include rearranging electrical components, buildings, and consolidating 4 driveways into 2. And they are replacing an existing chain link fence with a non-conductive panel system fence.
Yeah.
And modifying the existing landscaping that was approved in 2021. The proposed site is located at 509 Morgneck Road in Chestertown in the 4th Election District and is zoned commercial. The site is improved currently by electrical equipment, a small control building, and the surrounding area is a mix of industrial uses such as Chop Tank Electric Cooperative, Gillespie Precast, small commercial businesses, agriculture, residential land on the north side of Maryland Route 291. The property's north, south, east, west sides are currently screened by existing vegetation and a 6-foot chain link fence. Article 6, Section 5 outlines the Planning Commission's criteria for review of site plans. I'd like to highlight 2 things that I believe warrant further discussion by the Planning Commission. So concept plans don't receive an approval from this body. However, there is comment to help the applicant proceed through the process with preliminary and final. So my hope is that after my presentation, I'll be able to turn it over to the applicant and answer any questions that you may have. But instead of going criteria by criteria, I'd like to just highlight 2, if I may. So the first is the landscaping. So the existing landscaping was approved in 2021 through a site plan. It's a mix of understory trees and evergreen trees and shrubs. The proposed landscaping is also a mix of understory trees, evergreen trees, and shrubs. However, the proposed landscaping reduces the number of understory trees by 1 and evergreen trees by 26. I wanted to bring that to the Planning Commission's attention. Staff would recommend that the Planning Commission discuss whether the proposed landscaping is sufficient for the proposed use and determine if the proposed landscaping harmonizes with the surrounding townscape and as well with the previous approval from 21. The next point co-mingles with this and is related. The applicant has proposed replacing the 6-foot chain link fence with a 8-foot non-conductive panel system fence. And within your packet, I believe there's a picture. And so I wanted to, they're bringing the fence forward by, I believe, 24 feet to give more room for circulation. But as the Planning Commission considers the surrounding area and how that site is developed and how it's consistent with the landscaping and the screening, consideration should be taken into a non-conductive panel system fencing as opposed to a chain link fence where you can see through. I'm happy to answer any questions, and if you don't have any questions, I'd be happy to turn it over to the applicant if desired.
I have a couple of questions. What was the rationale for reducing the landscaping?
I can't speak to that. Perhaps the applicant can speak to that a little
Yeah,
bit
we'll
better.
have the applicant come up.
Okay.
I apologize.
So one observation I would make about that whole section of Morgneck Road is there is no consistency in the road frontage, or the fencing, or the landscaping.
Well, it's-
So drawing a comparable isn't really possible. Do you agree?
So I think the surrounding area is industrial uses as well, some residential uses. So I think the planning commission should discuss whether the proposed landscaping and different type of fencing is appropriate for that type of use. And that's really a question for the planning commission to consider in relation to the commercial standard districts.
Let's hear from the applicant first, because there may be there's somebody from the applicant here, if you'd like to come forward. And if you would, while you're still standing, raise your right hand, and is what you're about to say, is it the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, and state your name and address for the record, please. They got the microphone there, so you might want to get a little
Business
closer.
address or home address?
Business address.
My name is Ida Parrott, P-A-R-R-E-T-T. I'm with Delmarva Power and Light. My business address is 401 Eagle Run Road, Newark, Delaware.
Tony Coopersmith with McAllister, Detar, Showalter, and Walker, 100 Northwest Street, Easton, Maryland.
George Zebley with Duffield Associates, 5400 Limestone Road, Wilmington, Delaware.
Thank you. Now, if you have anything that you would like to say about your project? Since
Sure.
this is a concept plan?
Sure. So thank you to Rob Tracy for presenting that. We concur with the staff report in terms of addressing the different criteria that the Planning Commission would consider. One thing to add that addresses, I think, your question about the landscaping is that as the fence moves out to create a greater space for circulation and a drive aisle, one of the other things that's being done here, being proposed here, is to consolidate the 4 different entrances that currently exist right onto Morgneck Road into 2 different entrances. And the result of that would be that, instead of right now where if you drive down there, you have 4 different gates that you're looking at, none of which are screened, of course, because those are entrances. When you consolidate down to just having the 2 entrances, that allows actually for additional screening and more consistent screening to occur right there along the road. Because the result would be that you've got an entrance at one end and then an entrance at the other end, and that whole middle section now is capable of having and is proposed to have landscaping that's backstopped by the fence.
And there's no landscaping there now at the present, correct?
There is currently landscaping there. It was installed part of our 2021 project.
Okay. Is that coming out or is that staying?
There is some that will be removed and replaced.
What part's going to be removed? I mean, along the front, you got those little short shrubs
The-
and whatever. 'Cause
The plans that you have should have a page in there that outlines what is to be removed. And that is sheet 6 of 7. It has the planting schedule in there, and it also details what is to be coming out and what is to remain and what is to be installed. Should be labeled Major Site Plan Landscape Plan.
Ours is so small, it's impossible to read.
At home, I was having trouble even with a magnifying glass. I don't work well with glasses. And out of curiosity, this fence that you're moving forward, how far off the pavement is that going to be? I'm a little curious as to, with our dimensions, they have to be off the road, but is it off the edge of the pavement, off the center of the road, or off the right-of-way? So, really what it's gonna come down to is how close is that fence gonna get to where people drive?
They're looking at that
And
now.
how close is it gonna be to where people ride their bikes? Because there is a pretty good shoulder there.
I believe it's 24 feet, Mr.
I
Chair.
believe it is 24 feet. That sounds accurate from the property line.
From the property line.
24 to 30, we think.
30 feet.
And how far is it now, the fence?
It is currently 50 feet, is my recollection.
Okay, so you're cutting it in half. Cutting it in half and putting up a higher wall. That's basically what it's,
Slightly higher.
It's-
It's going from 6 feet to 8 feet.
8 feet.
6 to 8, yeah, a couple
Yep.
feet higher, but the fact that it's gonna be solid, it's gonna, visually, it's gonna be quite a bit of difference. I'm curious, why go that type of wall?
So as part of a system-wide review of all the different substations in its portfolio, Delmarva Power categorizes the different substations by tier level. And this particular substation has been upgraded in terms of its tier status. And so as a part of that, they look at different factors and different practices in order to be able to enhance security, safety, that sort of thing. And the non-conductive fencing, non-conductive meaning that it doesn't have it couldn't have electrical current come through it, unlike a metal chain link fence. So there's a safety factor there with that kind of fence. There's some wetlands on the property which are, off to the side, but nonetheless, you have wetlands on the property, and believe that the non-conductive fence is helpful in that regard to just eliminate any possible issue, even though there's not an incursion of the fence into the area.
Typically, on most of our substations, what we do is wherever the fence is, 3 feet outside the fence, there's gravel that's also inside the substation, so there's gravel outside, and basically, it's like a no-touch zone. So in other words, if somebody were to stand in the grass, they wouldn't be able to touch the fence. Well, because of the proximity of the wetlands and the wet area we're replacing the fence in the same location, but the stone's not going outside of the fence. So that way, we don't have that additional buffer. So that's why the necessity of a non-conductive fence.
And you could, with that kind of fencing, you wouldn't be able to put any plantings on the fence or anything like that, such as vines or whatever?
In past, we have not done that, and basically it's because of the animals. In other words, squirrels or anything like that can crawl up a tree or anything like that and then jump into the substation. That's one of the last things they
They
need.
can go up that fence too.
So
They climb all over my house, I know they can.
all our landscaping is at least 6 to 8 feet away from the fence.
Okay.
What was the rationale for reducing your entrance points from 4 to 2?
I think it's a safety sort of rationale where right now when you have 4 different entrances within relative close proximity, of course, that just creates additional traffic opportunities, traffic points. And so by eliminating or reducing the number of traffic points there where you're entering the main road, it's a safety feature. To have fewer entrances helps just to facilitate access, make it clearer entrance and exit.
I think that makes a lot of sense personally and reduces the opportunity for any kind of incidents. I understand that electric companies are challenged these days with increased incidents of vandalism and people essentially attacking. So from my perspective, this type of fence, which I don't consider unattractive, in fact, I like it better than chain link fence, helps to improve your overall safety for the facility and reduce the possibility of a major problem as a result of vandalism. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes.
Yep.
Personally, my only concern, like I say, it's just the fact that it's moved closer. I agree with Paul, I'm not, the type of fence and what it's going to do, that's more or less, I don't want to say it's attractive, but at least it's, it'll look decent over a period of time and landscaped in the front. Is there going to be any kind of landscape contractor or landscape to description and maintenance agreement?
So that would be required as part of the site plan approval.
So as they go forward with this, then,
Yeah, that's my understanding.
yeah, because,
I personally would like to see some more evergreen trees out there. You got an 8-foot fence, solid fence coming down there. I don't see where it would affect your vision coming out on the Morgan Neck Road, because you've got probably 15 feet out there that you would be, so you wouldn't be blocking, but the majority of these are 18 to 24 inches tall. That doesn't provide much of a screen. I know it's not much when you look through there coming into Chestertown in that direction, but the premise is that we're going to make it better.
right.
And we started with Gillespie's out there. They started putting in some large trees, and I think we should carry it right on in there. You're coming right in on a residential area, and you've got an 8-foot wall there.
And on the other side, we'll have 200 acres of solar panel.
That's going to benefit this.
Well, that's the reason, I believe that's probably the reason they're doing it.
But that's my only concern. I think, they've done a good job out there with the landscaping
Yeah.
that was done a couple years ago.
It's just got to grow.
And I don't have a problem with the fence itself, but I would like to see some more evergreens out there to screen this.
The reason we went with the smaller trees in that area is because of the place out in front of there is loaded with underground utilities. So we went with a slightly smaller one because then the roots don't cover as much area. You can see every once in a while there's a little bit of gaps here and there within the landscaping, and basically that's where the underground utilities are.
And you have to maintain access to that.
Well,
Obviously.
it's more along the lines of, in other words, utilities are there. We don't want the roots going into those. So obviously, the larger tree is going to have a farther stretch of roots.
Yeah. Inside the fence, is that a grid in the ground also?
What it is it's different types of stone. So around the electrical equipment is uncompacted stone. And then there's a ring road around the outside that has compacted stone. Now, so that we didn't have to do, obviously, we don't want water inside the substation, so there's no stormwater management. The stormwater management is basically a grid, a geogrid. So basically, it's, again, uncompacted stone within a wire or steel mesh, so that basically the water that can hit the site will be able to penetrate into the ground. So in other words, we don't have a stormwater management facility on site. We have met all the stormwater, requirements by using that geogrid.
I know it's wetlands up on one end. It's
Yes.
it flow off it. Well, since this is only a concept plan, we don't have any vote to take, but any other comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
About the fencing. There are two different models in the materials
It's the solid panel
The
fence
solid
that
panel
would
one?
be
That's
used.
the
The
one.
gates itself would be more of the, if you look at the sample that's in there that shows the solid panel, there's two. The second one, I think, gives a better depiction of what the fence area would look like, and that's this one here. So the walls will be panel, and then the gates will be this more fence-like material.
The gates essentially are 8 feet high also?
Yes, the gates will be 8 feet high as well.
And how wide are the gates?
They're two 10-foot wide, so basically it's a 20-foot wide gate.
Yeah.
So, double stem gate.
You had one of the gates was like a double wide,
They're both that way.
they're both that way?
They're both that way on either side.
But I thought one had like a third panel to it or
The
something.
other one has a third panel, the one further west on Morgan Neck Road has a third panel, and basically that's so that if need be, a larger truck
Gotta
needs to
get
come
large
in
equipment in,
and go in there, basically that post can be pulled out and just give you a wider berth to get a truck in there.
Okay. I
So,
think along the front, is there a culvert, stuff like that along the front?
Yes, there is.
Drainage, and you gotta cross that. My concern with a lot of it is the larger the truck, the bigger, the wider the area's gotta be. I just would like to make sure you make it wide enough.
And that's why we did come up with that, because we did the truck turn on the site and basically wrapped it around the entire site. And that's why we came up with the additional gate on the side, that in case a larger truck needs to come out there for maintenance of one of the
I
pieces
just
of
don't wanna
equipment.
see them driving over the curb. I mean,
Sure.
that's more for your guys, but it's still, I see it, unfortunately, I see it happen so often that it looks pretty on paper, but it's not real.
Yes.
You know, take a truck out there and drive it in and then make your curb. So, I've even gone as far as, I've seen square corners and it's ugly. Any other comments at this point?
Just, so this was just extra?
So when we were first proposing the different fence types, that was one that we were considering, but we have decided to go with the solid panel.
Sit down.
Much better.
And maybe when you're doing the landscaping, you could look at maybe putting a little taller trees in. I know you can buy them at different heights, so maybe put a little taller so that the trees can, it looks a little more mature quicker, let's put it that way.
Put a 3-foot berm.
Pardon?
Put a 3-foot berm, and that'll accommodate it.
Yeah, it will, but that'd be ugly too. Then you'll have people riding bikes and sitting on top resting. Any other comments? If not, thank you very much at this point. If you, unless you, ladies and gentlemen, have any more comments you'd like to make?
I think so.
And I guess your next step is come in for preliminary and
Yes, we understand it might be appropriate to come for preliminary and final, but we can discuss that with staff and see
Yeah.
what they think. With the board, okay.
we'll leave that up to Bill and his crew.
Were there any comments from the public?
Whoop, I forgot that. I did. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment? If not,
Doesn't look like anyone's online, so.
yeah, the only one up there is Bill Mackey. If not, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time, we
Good luck
appreciate
with
it.
it.
Thank you.
Make it look nice. We want to keep it nice. All righty. Next step. Backyard Landing Holdings. Brickyard Landing. Glasses are going bad.
I'm sorry.
I said backyards, brickyard. Gillespie's will get mad at me.
Yes, good afternoon.
Mr. Carper?
Yes, my name is Mark Carper, Associate Planner. Brickyard Land Holdings LLC is requesting a combined preliminary and final site plan review for the expansion of their office building for Gillespie Precast LLC. The expansion would be a two-story, 7,296 square foot addition, which would be to the rear of the existing structure. They appear before the concept plan, are now before you to review for preliminary and potentially final site plan review. As was established earlier, the forest conservation requirement and engineer's report requirement for performance standards were not required. The parking spaces are adequate and they meet the code. The applicant has requested that the requirement for bicycle stands, given the number of spots that are available, be waived for this application. They did provide building elevations and floor plans with their application as well. In regards to the standards for site plan review, we have these following comments. Those include that the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposal conforms with the provisions of applicable rules and regulations. Areas for vehicular flow appear to be adequate for the use proposed. The demands of public services and infrastructure appear to be reasonable. Standard waste from the office is discharged in Chestertown sewer system. At the review of the concept plan, it established that Chestertown Utilities will need to review the plans for connections. Received indication or notification that that has occurred, so that has been fulfilled. It's also established that the plans for soil and erosion control and stormwater management plans need to be submitted. Those are still under review. We don't have determinations on those as of yet. And staff does recommend approval for the construction of this two-story, 7,296 square foot addition to the rear of the existing office structure, with the condition that the soil and erosion control and stormwater management plans be approved, and submission of all required sureties for the stormwater management sediment control be submitted.
None of that has been submitted yet?
No, that would not occur until after approval
Until after.
of the final site plan.
Okay. Is there anybody from the applicant here that would like to speak? All right, while you're standing, raise your right hand. Is what you are about to say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It is.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record.
Kevin Sharon, DMS and Associates, P.O. Box 80, Centerville, Maryland.
Andrew Gillespie, Gillespie Precast, 102 Brickyard Road.
Okay.
So I just wanted to expand on a couple of things that Mark commented on. We did receive approval pending allocation calculations from the town of Chestertown for connecting to the water and sewer. The proposed building is in addition to the back of the existing office building. So it'll have its own sewer and water lateral that connect to the sewer and water lateral that are provided for the other building. Sediment control and stormwater management have been designed and were submitted some time ago. We have not received comment from the agencies on those. We don't anticipate any issues. The stormwater management the building addition fell within a drainage area that the existing office building sits in, which included the original product laydown yard. And so it was a large drainage area with a lot of impervious cover, and it all goes through and is treated by a submerged gravel wetland next to the existing office building. So what we did was we took the original stormwater management calculations, added in the impervious cover associated with the office building addition, reran the numbers. The original submerged gravel wetland was oversized slightly enough to accommodate this relatively small increase in impervious cover. So we submitted all that information to the Department of Public Works and requested essentially a waiver from having to provide any additional stormwater management. So what we would request is, and sediment control is pretty straightforward. What we would request is, I mean, typically we would have that here before you guys. We felt that there was plenty of time for it to be reviewed, but, you know, be that as it may, we request that we still are considered for and granted preliminary and final, with the understanding that if either of those substantially change the layout of the site plan, that we'll come back before you and present that. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward application. As the staff report mentions, typically in the industrial zone, we have to provide certified engineers' reports on dust and odor and whatnot, but that's really more for the plant itself that's already in operation. This is just support, and because Gillespie is growing, as you have seen. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
How many people are going to be added to that site?
It's hard to say right now. The current office is full, so if we were to add any additional people, we need more space. We'll probably bring some of the office staff from the Dixon Drive office, who that staff runs our accounting department. A few of those people will come over, and we need to hire. We could use it to hire a couple more people right now, so we just don't have. And obviously, we're looking to continue to grow, so those spaces will be filled hopefully over the next 5 years.
The Dixon Road facility that's going to still stay? You're gonna
Yes.
still keep that, that's still going to exist?
Yes.
I didn't know if any of this, I know you have other too, if that was going to.
So both businesses, the ready-mix business and the precast business share the same accounting department.
Okay.
So some of that will actually come to the precast and be designated for precast specifically.
Anybody,
Do you have a specific forecast for how many people you'll add?
Not exactly right now. We're at capacity, so we'll just continue to add, and hopefully eventually fill the space that we build, but it'll take some years to do that, I would imagine.
Okay. I was out at the facility earlier this year for the economic development meeting that you sponsored. Is this addition going where the tent was?
No, it will go, if you're looking at the tent, it'll go right behind, I guess, to the side of the existing office.
Okay.
So there won't be there's no break. It'll adjoin the existing office.
How do people get to and from the facility now?
The
By
plant?
car
Yes, yeah.
exclusively?
Yes,
So there's no public transportation?
no.
Do people, I'm curious as to why you asked for a waiver of bicycle parking.
We had requested that when the original office building was built, just because there didn't seem to be a need for it. I think they'd be happy to add one, but it's just really, it's an industrial site, and it's not really conducive for bicyclists, to be honest with you.
It seems to me that more and more people are riding bicycles these days, and that getting back and forth to work, especially if you live in Chestertown, might be easier by bike or preferable by bike.
Well, has anyone ever been there on a bicycle?
Not that I know of.
Well, I mean, I'm just making an observation.
Yeah, I understand your point, but it just doesn't, it's not really conducive, that site is not really conducive for
Yeah, I
bicycle.
wouldn't think so.
And if you do ride your bike, you can strap it off to a big piece of concrete and you'll be all right.
Well, the
not going
concrete's
anywhere.
too large to strap it off to. Okay.
One thing I did have, these things all tend to run together, but there was some mention about signage. You're not proposing any new signage out there or anything?
No, not with this proposal, no.
Sean, you got any
That was part of that discussion from the first meeting.
All right, now, and the only other concern I have, I happened to be out there, I took a couple drives out. In fact, you might have seen me in there this morning before I came here. Just, I've never been in there, but when I came by yesterday, the main entrance, that's the only truck entrance, or where, is there another one on here that's gonna handle the larger trucks? What I mean by trucks, the 18-wheelers, because yesterday, when one tried to pull in coming from the Chestertown side, coming in, just barely made it in that entrance.
We did oversize that entrance also, but we have a proposed entrance. It's not in this particular plan, but it's in,
Yeah, it was the site plan that expanded the yard that they've built now. You guys approved another access point. State Highway is still working on that. They had some issues with their hydraulic review consultant being off contract for a while, so that'll get back rolling again, and we'll get an access permit.
I'm just
for that.
bringing it up because I also saw in the curve, there's nothing but, black tire rub on both sides. And-
yeah, it's
And the
tight.
truck just barely made it. Again, I'm just going back to the point that I hate to see curbs, you try to make things look good. We like that, you're on the edge of town coming in, you want to keep it looking good. And they're just breaking down, everything gets broken down.
What is the standard width of a,
Standard is 24 feet.
Go away from the
Commercial's
standard,
30.
take a truck out and drive it in and figure it out from
But
there.
yeah, it's
Right.
it's pretty wide for most standards.
It's,
I think we even made the next one even a little bigger
I mean,
yet.
Right.
yeah, it's not my pet peeve. It sounds like it because I've mentioned it a couple times today, but at the same time, it does
You're
aggravate me.
stuck on curbs.
Well, we don't like to
Like
see
I
black
mentioned.
marks on the curbs either. It costs money to replace those tires.
Well, I understand that, but I have seen square curbs. And that was going onto an interstate, so that's interesting. But that being said, are there any other comments? Like I say, I was in there, the only thing I saw around the back of the building where you're proposing it is there was a grassed area. Is that being replaced? I don't know if we have to or not, but is that drainage area you're talking about, or?
Yeah, that's where the building will go, and, yeah, I mean, it won't be grass anymore.
It won't be grass
It'll be the
anymore.
building.
don't know if anybody goes on it anyway, unless they're running through the precast.
Right.
But, right, now, other than that, because it's back out of the way, I mean, there's not,
Right.
it's industrial, and
Won't hardly see it from the road.
good to see a business growing.
Exactly.
Any other comments?
Make a motion.
Okay, go, sir.
I make a motion that we grant preliminary and final site plan to Brickyard Land Holding LLC to construct an addition to the existing office building consisting of 96 square feet, two-story to the existing dwelling.
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you just for a second. I did forget, I apologize. Is there anybody from the public that would like to make comment? Hearing and seeing none? I'm sorry, I just took a little.
Start all over again. I make a motion that we grant preliminary and final site plan for Brickyard Land Holdings LLC to construct a two-story, 7,290 square foot addition to the rear of an existing structure. We find that the proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposal conforms with the provisions of applicable rules and regulations. We've determined the area of vehicular flow appear to be adequate for the use proposed. Demands on public services and infrastructure appear to be reasonable. Standard waste from the office discharge into the Chestertown sewage system, and we are awaiting the review from the utility connections from the town of Chestertown. A soil and water, stormwater management plans have been submitted, however, not approved. A citizen's participation report has been submitted along with a sample copy of the letter that was mailed to adjacent property owners, and no responses were received. With the condition that complete review by the Chestertown utilities for connection to the public water and wastewater, approval of the soil and erosion control stormwater management plans, and submission of all required sureties for stormwater management, sediment and erosion control, and that we also waive the requirement for bicycle parking. That's it.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Go for it. Okay. Item number 4, Camp Fairleigh. Concept of a sensory cabin.
Yes, good afternoon. We have the applicant, which is ESSD-M Incorporated, Camp Fairleigh. It's requesting review of a concept plan to construct a 2,100 square foot sensory cabin, a 20-foot wide access lane, and an 8-foot wide concrete walkway. All of these would be within the critical area. This property is at 22242 Bayshore Road and is zoned Resource Conservation District and Agricultural Zoning District. The property contains cottages and buildings associated with the use as a boarding camp. The proposed structures are to be located within critical areas previously mentioned. The proposal is part of a master plan that includes a laundry facility and 2 additional sensory cabins. One of those sensory cabins is to be placed within the critical area, as would the laundry facility. The proposal has been submitted to the Critical Area Commission for review, and we have received comments from the Critical Area Commission. They didn't arrive in time to be included in the packet, but they were provided for you, and I have a copy here as well. They do make some recommendations. Since they're not included in the packet, I would like to read them into record, if that would be okay. The Critical Area Commission did review this application and had the following recommendations that they offer. One is that the site plan shows an existing stream on the property, but not the critical area buffer to the stream. In accordance with Comar 27.01, et cetera, please have the applicant delineate the buffer, including any required expansions to this site plan. Site plan provides an overall proposed and existing lot coverage, but does not provide a breakdown of the distribution of lot coverage, that being the amount dedicated to the buildings, parking lot, and walkways. They ask that the applicant add a lot coverage table with a breakdown to the site plan. They also note that, or they ask that a letter through the Maryland Wildlife and Heritage Service be included to ensure a project will not result in any impacts to sensitive species or habitats on site. And they ask that a copy of that letter be provided to their office. In regards to the master plan, they recognize that a laundry facility, additional sensory cabin, and additional pathways may be proposed in the future, resulting in potentially 0.11 acres of additional lot coverage in the RCA, which is our RCD, and a potential final lot coverage of 3.32 acres in the RCA. They ask that when these plans are submitted in the future, that they ensure that all critical area requirements be met. They do recognize the property is under Maryland Historic Trust Preservation easement, and they ask for a copy of that easement to be sent to them for their records. So those are the comments from the Critical Area Commission. In regards to our staff report, applicable law, Article 5, Section 2.2 of the Land Use Ordinance establishes that camps, day or boarding, private or commercial, are permitted in the RCD. This is a property being utilized by the Easter Seals, and the application is submitted, as mentioned before, been submitted to the Critical Area Commission for review and has been returned. The comprehensive plan does state that in terms of site design, implement through site design review for the new development and major renovations. In terms of applicable law, there are established requirements or issues to be assessed when reviewing site plans. In regards to those particular standards, these are our comments. The proposal is consistent with strategies and goals of the comprehensive plan. There were no details on signage or exterior lighting that were provided. It may be that there's no lighting, exterior lighting that's going to be included, but they weren't stated as such. The property is to be served by public water and sewer, or is served by public water and sewer, and the applicant will need to work with Department of Public Works to connect the proposed cabin to the water and sewer system. As mentioned, the property has a Maryland Historical Trust easement. The applicant has indicated that pending site plan approval, the full set of exterior plans, including colors for roof and siding, will be submitted to the Maryland Historical Trust for review. The proposed project will create, in its current form, 0.21 acres of lot coverage in the critical area. A buffer enhancement plan may be required unless it is determined that the buffer is fully established. No trees are to be removed. The proposed cabin will be reviewed as a commercial building for building code regulations. There are no proposed changes to the site access. Demands of public services and infrastructure appear to be reasonable. The area for stormwater management has been proposed. Preliminary soil and erosion control and stormwater management plans are required for preliminary site plan review. So in order to receive preliminary site plan approval, the applicant must address and or submit the following outstanding items: details on any signs and exterior lighting that may be included, a buffer enhancement plan or determination that the buffer is fully established, preliminary plan for connection to a public water and sewer, and preliminary sediment and erosion control and stormwater management plans.
Just out of curiosity to the staff here and to Bill, now, we started out, they're asking for concept review, but then they finish up looking for a preliminary review?
No, they're not asking for a preliminary review at this
Just a
point.
concept.
Yeah, in order to advance to preliminary stage, they would have to have those documents available.
Okay.
Mark, I assume you would add that they have to fulfill all the recommended actions from the Critical Area Commission
They will.
to the list?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not voting on it, but yeah, that's.
Yeah,
more or
those
less
would be
a request
requirements.
to the-
Okay.
In terms of the increased lot coverage, I think maybe the applicant might be able to speak to that.
Yeah.
We discussed this during our technical advisory committee review. But yeah, they would certainly be required to fill those obligations for the critical area law.
Let's bring the applicant up, and is there anybody here from the applicant? Raise your right hand. Is what you're about to say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
It is.
Fantastic. State your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Gene Alcott. I'm with Easter Seals Camp Fairleigh.
You want me to repeat?
We know who you
All right,
are. State your name, though. State your name. That way we
Kevin
got
Sherman.
to go on the recording.
There you go. So we were here before you, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago for employee housing. There were 2 cabins that were proposed. Those are under construction and nearing completion. This next project is more for the patrons of the camp, and Gene can explain the building itself. But what we've done, they've asked us to put kind of a master plan together for 3 cabins with kind of central access and good pedestrian connectivity to the rest of the camp. And then another building that would be for a laundry facility for not only those 3 cabins, but kind of that end of camp. So we are in the critical area. We just got the letter that Mark read. We don't see any issues with addressing any of those comments. It's all kind of boilerplate. It's, you know, it's pretty much a pretty simple site plan. You know, we're coming in off of the main access road into camp. We've got a small kind of delivery and service lane that'll come back in and connect to the pedestrian walkways. We've submitted the initial floor plans and elevations. So anyways, we'll be moving forward. Easter Seals has a generous donor that is involved in this project and would like to see construction start at a certain time. And so based on what we perceive as kind of a very straightforward site plan, we would request the next time we're in, if we have all our ducks in a row, to, for the planning commission to consider granting a preliminary and final at the same time. So be happy to answer any questions.
Just out of curiosity, what is a sensory cottage?
I knew that was going to come up.
Of course. Campers that are on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, have sensitivity to loud noises, light, certain, it's the best way to put it, the way it says, it's a sensory cabin where we can control the outside atmosphere. This cabin is also away from a considerable distance from our other cabins so that they have a little bit more peace and quiet, and they're not within the usual boisterous activity that can happen at camp.
How many residents would you anticipate in each cabin?
The cabin has 4 bedrooms that will house approximately 4 people for a summer session of 9 weeks. So I'll have to do my math here real quick on that, but you're looking at approximately 16 campers per week over a 9-week period. And that's if we're blessed by having full enrollment.
They come in and out each week, then that's
Yes.
each period, so to speak?
Yes, there are, depending on the program, I believe this year we have 2 sessions, the summer session, we have 2 weeks that are back-to-back weeks, but they're not full 14 days. It becomes a 12-day camper experience, but I believe there's only 2 of those sessions. There was 1 planned last year. We're trying to expand that. This gives us, though, the opportunity to bring in let me take that back. It allows us to expand on accommodating those folks that are on the autism spectrum that have sensory issues. Where we are now, we're simply limited by our current bunk-style housing, where if you picture 20 campers sleeping in a bunk-sized room with various issues, some need to be turned during the night, some need to be taken to the bathroom, it's not conducive for the autistic community.
How many campers I'm sorry, I'm just not, I know where it is, but I've never been back in there. How many campers do you, through a normal session, would you have? Let's just say.
Summer session, we can usually do about 90 campers total, and that's in 7 cabins. When we think of a camper, you also have to think of the counselor that's with them. So for the most part, it's a 3-to-1 ratio, 3 campers per 1 counselor. In this particular cabin, we're looking at a 2-to-1 ratio, possibly 3-to-1, but the care factor is just that much more critical.
Looks like the majority of your facility is already in the critical area, is that true?
Yes,
Yes.
a very big portion of the property is in the critical area.
Well, I'll tell you, I think, I've been down there. It's a nice operation. I can't see where the critical area staff would have any problem with it. My goodness, I mean, I can't think of a better use of a piece of property, and I can't think that we could suggest anything that could make it look better than it already is out there.
And I think
Well-
it's pretty well enclosed with trees, too, all the way around it. Isn't that kind of a ring? I was kind of
Yeah,
looking at an aerial
it's a
photo.
it's a long lane back in there. You
Right.
can't see it from the main road. But Bill, to your point, just to put on the record, the critical area, the impervious cover after this proposed addition, and it's just, that we're just counting the 1 cabin, we're allowed up to 15% impervious cover, and with this cabin, we would be at 4.8%. So we're well under the
Got room for
15.
more then, you saw
Right.
that. You just keep going with the ring around on the master plan.
Well, it looks like to me, your next couple phases are working your way right out of the critical areas anyhow.
Right, right.
So, no, I don't have anything with it.
It's a good thing, and I think that. Any other comments from the board?
No,
Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
but there's no motion.
It's a
Yeah, it's
That's
just
right,
concept
I'm
plan.
sorry, you're right.
But if the,
I don't see any problem with coming back for preliminary and
No,
final.
I don't either, I mean, I just lost my head there. That's what happens when you're thrown into
In a
it.
position of authority.
all right, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last item on the agenda, KNR Inc. concept site plan.
Do you want a set of the large plans up there?
I'm sorry?
Do you want a set of the large plans?
Yeah, that might be helpful. Let's get these out of here.
There.
Got everything. In a pretty picture.
So, this is an application by Mr. Sunny Data, KNR Incorporated, requesting concept site plan review for the construction of a new convenience store and deli at 10816 Wharton Road. The parcel is .41 acres and is at the southwest corner of the intersection of Wharton Road and Porter's Grove Road. The store will be 2,960 square feet. There will be 15 parking spaces, and the property is zoned village. Neighborhood retail businesses are permitted, and the applicant is aware that outdoor sales have to be approved by the Planning Commission and must be shown on the site plan, and that would include ice coolers, propane cages, et cetera. As far as the district design standards, there were several of them that I gave sort of more detail on in your staff report. I'm not going to read all of those, but I wanted to kind of point out that there were some questions you will need to kind of give consideration to, considering the building arrangement, site design, the parking area, delivery trucks and trash collection, and landscaping. You are aware of the site plan review standards. And I'm just going to kind of jump straight to the staff recommendation, and, which I will read. And so while no votes are taken on the concept site plan, it would be helpful to give guidance to the applicant on the following. 1, the building location as it relates to Wharton Road. 2, waiving the requirement for a separate loading and unloading space. 3, allowing parking spaces to extend into the front yard setback of the side street of a corner lot. 4, whether or not a bike rack should be included. And 5, any thoughts on what might be appropriate landscaping. And then obviously, in order to move forward, they would need to have approval of the sediment control and stormwater management plans. We would need more details on landscaping, lighting, signs, and outdoor sales, and submission of any required sureties. Imagine at this point, I can probably turn it over to Kevin. And he can come answer questions, and we can talk, like I said, about some of those design standards that you should make some discussion and determination on. You can come up. Yep.
Yeah, any
Does Mr. Dada want to come?
any representation from the applicant? There we go.
Yeah, that's fine.
You want to switch, or are you good?
And you would, sir, if you would, just raise your right hand. And, is what you're about to say the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And please state your name and address for the record, please.
Sudhir Dada, 201 Bangor Lane, Churchill.
Thank you.
So this property, some people may be more familiar with it than others, but this is on the corner of Wharton Road and Porter's Grove Road. It's between Porter's Grove Road and the railroad tracks. It currently has a dilapidated building on it. Mr. Dada would like to redevelop it, as Carla said, into a modest convenience store / deli. The property, as you can see, is a very odd shape, particularly as you get towards the Wharton Road side. If you look at how the property lines go, and then you offset that for the building restriction lines, it pinches down at the front of the property, which is the Wharton Road side. That combined with, there is an existing easement that the railroad company has on the property, from the railroad and Wharton Road along that southern edge. And it's, the restriction is for line of sight visibility for the train operator when he's approaching Wharton Road, to be able to see and not have buildings or landscaping and that kind of stuff obstruct the train operator. So with those parameters in mind, we laid out the that plus access to the, well, anyways, so with that in mind, we laid out the plan so that the building is set back from Wharton Road, and the parking is in the front, which I know, is not typical, but this is kind of an atypical lot. And so the proposal is for the building to be at the rear of the property, and then mid-span of the property have access into the parking lot. And, it's a modest parking lot because it's a modest facility. We did conduct a citizens participation meeting. Sometimes we just do a letter, but in this case, we felt that, with the neighborhood, it would be good to meet with the neighbors. So we sent out, I think it was nearly 100 notifications, and held a meeting at the community center one evening. And the residents provided good input. Some of them are existing conditions that we can't really address, like speed on Porter's Grove Road, some drainage, which we will try to look into. I'm not sure that we'll be able to solve it, but we can look into it. One of the other ones that they were concerned about was, if you see on the top side of the proposed building off of Porter's Grove Road, we had notched out a loading and unloading designated spot, and they felt that was an unsafe condition. So we're fine with getting rid of that as long as the planning commission is okay with us having deliveries enter into the parking lot, which is kind of atypical, but, you know, there'll be small deliveries because it's a small facility. There'll be, you know, most likely before hours or after hours. And they would just pull into the parking lot, offload the product, and then be on their way. So, with all those things considered, this is kind of the concept plan that we laid out. We are certainly willing in this area to provide a bike rack, because we think that's certainly appropriate for this area. But anyways, we're, you know, here to discuss a concept plan. We don't feel that this one's necessary to go for preliminary and final, so we'll be back next time with preliminary landscaping and whatnot, but we'd like to get your all's input. One other item that the residents voiced was on the backside of the property, the backside of the deli, becomes residential property. There are a row of trees, but it's not on Mr. Dada's property, and so they requested some type of screening in the back. Mr. Dada would prefer to do kind of like what Delmar was doing, but like a 6-foot stockade privacy fence, as opposed to landscaping that, you know, could get unruly or what have you. So we can discuss that. I think it would give them a little more room in the back for maintaining the property if we just did a privacy fence as the separator. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions that you all have.
Any comments or questions?
Well, I got a whole list of them.
So do I.
Well, first of all,
Should we order supper?
I'll tell you, you know, the county has outgrown this site. I mean, they have put so much traffic on Porter's Grove Road. Every project, I'm talking about Coventry Farms, Fannel's Branch, Orchard Hill, Rock Hall, they come down Porter's Grove Road. And we have almost forced them to do that. We put the community center, parks and recreation, 2 schools out there. And I've lived on this road probably all my life, and I can remember probably 20 years ago, I could lay down in the middle of that road at 9 o'clock in the morning and probably wouldn't get run over till 4 o'clock that afternoon. But those days are gone. We've got combines, we've got farm machinery, got school buses, we've got manure haulers, and they come down this road, and I doubt very seriously if he would be able to stop for a vehicle pulling out of this intersection. The county road ordinance says that, you know, you should have 200 foot of clear sight between these commercial intersections. You don't have near that, and I can see, you know, your garbage truck, he's not going to turn around in that parking lot. He's going to back that thing out on Porter's Grove Road. The garbage trucks are what, 27 to 35 feet long? He's taking up the whole frontage. He can't possibly swing in there. So he's backing out on Porter's Grove Road. If someone's waiting to turn in there, they're coming off of 297, they're jamming up out there. So I think the entrance is dangerous. You know, the ordinance is clear. You will screen the residential properties from this building and parking. So, I mean, that's a given. And I think that, you know, if the project does go forward, you've got a lot of screening to do. That daggone thing with the railroad, I can't make heads nor tails of that half the time. I mean, they put a restriction on the deed and had a building there already blocking the view, so I don't know where that came from, but, you know, if you can't have a building there, can you have a vehicle parked there? But I do believe that you can have, low plantings along that area. Delivery trucks, they're gonna park on Porter's Grove Road regardless. In my opinion, we see it all the time. And you will have delivery trucks there during the day. I mean, every convenience store I've ever seen has delivery trucks there every day. They're not coming in there at night or early in the morning. And as far as the parking lot, I think, you know, we need to see that landscaped. Another concern I have is the parking lot itself looks to me that it's only 5 feet off the existing pave of Porter's Grove Road. Just yesterday, any person walking from that parking lot into that store would have been soaking wet. There was about 4 inches of water laying on that road all day long. And I think I don't think it's Mr. Dada's responsibility, but I think that it's a responsibility that we have the county go out there and do something about this drainage. For 1,200 feet up Porter's Grove Road, every bit of water comes down that road. There's no drainage on either side. Mr. Mason's field drains into it. It's been a problem, and it's not Mr. Dada's problem. It's been a problem for years out there, but I think that before this can be further, that has to be addressed at some point, because it's dangerous. If I back my truck into that parking lot and go all the way to the rear, and if you do have curb and gutter, the back of my truck's hanging within a foot of the edge of paving out there, and when Mr. Hill comes along there with his combine during the fall, he's gonna rip the tail off of it. They're over the edges of the road now, so I think the parking's too close to Porter's Grove Road. I see where you're proposing just millings. I think if you want to put a parking lot in there, it ought to be paved. Your rendering of the building that you give us show curb and gutter, but I'm assuming you're not curb and gutter in this. But there ought to at least be some sort of curb stops, because I can't see why anyone coming down Porter's Grove Road, if I've got a park in there, why would I not just pull off Porter's Grove Road into the parking lot anywhere along there? There's nothing to stop me. It's at relatively the same grade as the edge of pave. So those are my suggestions, but I'll tell you, you're going to have a hard time getting my okay on it. I think it's too big of a building for that particular size, and perhaps it's outlived its commercial use, looking at a residential use on it. I really don't know. But as I said, 25 years ago, I think this wouldn't have been a problem. But right now, with the amount of traffic that I see on that thing every day during the summer months, from early spring through late fall, you've probably on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you're probably looking at 200 to 300 bicyclists on that road. They come through there in groups of 15 or 20, and they take their half of the road right out of the middle. And like I say, that's none of Mr. Dada's problems, but that's a situation that we have. They put that road on a map to direct bicycles to. So that's my little say on it. Were you writing quick, Kevin?
I was writing. But, I mean, and I hear you, and no disrespect, Mr. Crowding, but I almost feel like you should recuse yourself from this review
Well, I know
anyways.
you probably do, but I'm here to say that I doubt there's a person in this county knows more about this road or this site than I do.
That's exactly why I suggested that. And had the county not come through and paved Porter's Grove Road, it probably wouldn't be as fast a road. I mean, when it was back tar and chip and
Well,
you had to put on your kidney belt to get down the road.
Well, if they hadn't paved it, instead of 4 inches of water on it yesterday, you'd have had 6.
There you go. Well, I mean, I respectfully disagree with most of the comments that you had. Yes, there are pre-existing conditions out there. I don't feel that it's unsafe. The traffic from the Dollar General is coming right out on Wharton Road. This is more of a side road. You're approaching a stop sign condition, so people are already, it's supposed to be a 30-mile-an-hour zone. You're supposed to be slowing down as you get to the intersection. So unless somebody condemns the property, I don't see a safer situation for utilizing this property and rehabbing it from the blight that it is right now.
Well, let me ask you this. How much time have you spent on Porter's Grove Road at this intersection?
Well, I used to live in Morton, so
How much time at this intersection on Porter's Grove Road? did
I
you
don't,
say
I
it's
don't hang
not?
out on the corner.
Well, I can tell you the county ordinance, in the road ordinance, says that you will have a 200-foot site coming off of this. And I think you need a letter from the Department of Public Works stating that they say it's not a dangerous site.
Can I go next?
Yeah.
Point counterpoint here.
What? I know, but I'll tell you, I just, we see where they have no comments. Bill, I think, then he can explain, I think that the Department of Public Works should explain why they feel that this doesn't have to adhere to their regulations, that's all,
I'm going to take the opposite point of view. I've lived in Kent County for over 30 years, and I go on, not Porter's Grove Road, but the crossroad going into Chestertown virtually every day. The Dollar General store was a major improvement to the area in terms of providing access to services and products that people need. This concept, I think, is perfect, frankly. It will serve the needs of people who are employed locally in the community center, people who are who are using the park area, and it will be a welcome addition to the community economically. It also, I think, is a wonderful change from the blight that exists there. And moving the building back on the property will improve the sightlines, actually, going in and out. Because the building almost comes up to the road right now, and you can't see around it. I agree with my colleague about curbing and using curbing to help direct traffic out back onto the main road in the safest, most efficient way possible. There's only one way in and out of the Dollar General, and people have to go back out on 290, is it 291? So that would be a suggestion I make. I like the idea of a privacy fence screening in the back because it creates security not only for the store, but for the adjacent residents. And that's, I think, preferable to landscaping that people can run through and walk through. I just think it's a marvelous addition. I would use it. And I won't be going down Porter's Grove Road. And although I do regularly go down Porter's Grove Road, I seldom encounter other traffic, frankly. So I don't see it all the time like you do, Bill, but it, to me, is a relatively less traveled road than might otherwise be suggested. And that's not to downplay your concerns about noise and speed and whatnot, but that's really a county issue.
Well, and I'm not sitting here belaboring the point. I'm just sitting there saying, what are we asking for relief from? You're asking for relief from providing a delivery area. You're asking relief from being able to block vehicles when they're parked there waiting for the garbage truck to leave. You're asking for relief from parking within the designated front yard piece of property, which just several years ago when Dollar General store came in here, they wanted to face their building towards Porter's Grove Road or towards 297, and they were told with their double fronting lot that the back of their store had to be along Porter's Grove Road. I don't know that this board has the authority not to say that you don't have to move your parking somewhere else. I mean, it says parking in between the front of the building and the front yard is prohibited. But those are just some of the things that I have, and as far as millings in the parking lot.
No, that's a mistake. This is a concept plan. We're planning on paving it.
But, and then some sort of, I just look at it and I say, I can't imagine after what I saw out there yesterday and what I've seen hundreds of times, cars parked within 5 feet of the edge of paving.
Set? John, anything?
I think you heard both sides.
And as far as the trees, what is that guy's, Talladega? I just call him Joe. Those are those are Leland cypresses. They're well over 20 years old, so they've reached their maturity. They could die tomorrow. So I wouldn't bank on them being a screen.
No, we can't bank on trees on somebody else's property being a screen, but we are proposing the stockade, privacy fence on the back of this property.
No, I mean, I tend to agree with both voices here, which sounds odd, but, I mean, quite frankly, I think it would be a welcome improvement over what's currently on the lot. But I do think going back and making sure that the traffic pattern is addressed and looked at and make sure that, apparently it'll go through them anyway, but address some of those concerns, before you come back in for a preliminary or final, so that maybe favorable vote will come your way.
I think, Kevin, tell you the truth, the railroad just spent $1.4 million out there. If they get it done for what they said, you might want to run this by them.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of work out
See
there
if they want
now.
to put a train station there?
I want to see if they'd have any problem with you parking cars in that area a car's not going to block the train's view, but a cube truck will.
How about, and I have a question, and that's to do with the site distance too with the railroad. What was the distance that they have to have? Did they state any kind of distance?
No, it's just that dashed line that's kind of shaded in is the descriptive
Is
easement.
there existing,
Yeah.
because where I was going is if there's a way that you could, let's say, reshape the building so that you could reconfigure the parking lot to address some of Bill's safety concerns, because, it certainly would have that. I don't know if that was considered or not.
Well, we had done a layout previously that brought the building to the front, but it was in all of the building restriction lines and,
Right.
it blocked, basically is acting as it is now, blocking visibility and whatnot, so.
No, I would agree with that. I was just curious, whether get away from the square, make it, let's say, make it more rectangular so that maybe some of the parking could be moved, just some other thought into the design of the layout, because I agree with Paul. It's an excellent addition to the area, but we've got to make it safe.
Just out of curiosity, why are the coolers located outside of the building?
It's like a box cooler. It's not disturbing, it's sitting outside. It's just a box. Like you go, you see a walk-in cooler, it's sitting there. It's not, and it's covered completely. It's no
I was
access
just-
to anybody.
I was just wondering,
Why I did it, because we have very small building for a store. And we are not looking for a big thing. It's like, I want to organize it in a very nice manner. It should not be hodgepodge. Hey, it's one thing there, one thing there. It should be nice setup. It has to be nice setup. Otherwise, previously, Kevin, we made a drawing. It was right on the road. We have lot of issues. It took me forever to even think of anything. But now this design, it draw the people. When you are spending that much money, you want to see that it is happening. As far as Mr. Bill is concerned about like people park there, most of the people, those who come to the store, they stay maybe 5 minutes. They are not going to stay there. If he's staying more than 5 or 10 minutes, it's a problem. We don't want them to be there. We don't want that kind of people. The customer comes, sometimes it's the daily business, sometimes may spend 10, 15 minutes inside the store, but nobody's, and the delivery trucks, they are not going to be half an hour. It's 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And they have to work with him or who, the people, we want them to get out from there, like we know his concern. We will make sure that this guy is gone. Come, get the hell out of this place. Done. That's it, very simple. He cannot. And he cannot afford to stay there half an hour. He's not going to be on that road. And as far as the water concerned, I don't know what he can do it.
Yeah, we'll have to
It's
take-
there, like, you know, the water 4-inch staying there, it's a state highway. I can't dictate it, and I don't have that means that I could do anything. If I get into that,
I think that now's the time to do something about it
well, the
because
county has to do it.
well, you have to get with the county because I'm going to tell you, just yesterday, that store, you'd be calling them this morning and saying, you got to do something about this water flying on my property. So I mean, if you ask me, now's the time to do it. And I think that if you're saying they're not going to use that loading area and you want to use this, then that entire front should be landscaped to keep them from getting in there.
Oh, yeah, it will be.
Well, that cabin has,
But I mean, it wasn't much of a concept to go on. I mean,
not much there to do anything.
but
We don't
at
have-
any rate, and maybe you're looking for, maybe you're looking to ask for a side yard variance or something to get a little further off the road. I mean, the only thing behind you is a railroad right-of-way. It's 66 feet wide, so if you're right on the property line, the nearest thing to you as far as the building's got to be at least 66 feet away.
The one thing I don't see on the plan is signage and lighting.
Yeah, we'll develop that as we go through the site
Are
plan
you
process.
looking at having a sign on the building or someplace else?
I would imagine both. We probably have a sign on the building and some type of a pylon sign or monument sign out front.
Yeah, just as long as you keep the signs away from the intersections, that's.
Yeah.
We will follow the guidelines.
But we'll certainly see that in the future, so we'll be able to
Yes.
make comment on that. But any other thing, I mean, like I say, if there's a way of just redesigning, moving it, because I agree with Bill, you don't want to hang the back end because you got a lot of pickup trucks in this area.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
wanna
we'll take a
hang-
look at it.
And people like to back in, you don't want to hang them over the road.
Right.
It's, especially the way that road is now, there's no curb on the side or whatever, all they gotta do is go off the pavement. Next thing you know, it kicks right and takes out the back end of Bill's truck, and he won't be happy. He won't be a happy camper. But, yeah, it's narrow, 'cause I was up there yesterday too, I took a ride up, and originally I saw that loading area and unloading area, and I'm sitting there saying, how do the trucks turn around? I mean, there is no room, it's a narrow road, unfortunately, and all the way up. I agree with Bill on that part, but that's why I suggest is maybe shaping the building a little different, moving the parking around a little different, get the traffic flow in such a way that it's safe. You just don't want people backing into each other.
Right. Understood.
I
Because you
would at
will.
least move it 2.7 feet closer to the railroad.
Right?
I'd eat up every bit of that side yard.
I would too. I mean, I can't say that. We gotta be, we don't wanna, but at the same time, we wanna help you a little bit. It's
Yep,
just,
no, I appreciate it.
There's things that we may be able to entertain, but you still wanna make it safe to, because you're gonna have a lot of kids in there. I mean, you're close to the high school. I mean, that's gonna,
Yeah.
Community center.
yeah, I mean, you're gonna have people in there, but they're gonna be walking and riding bikes, and there's gonna be little kids. They gotta cross that road, and that road, fortunately, you got the railroad there. That slows people down, believe it or, a little bit. But it's, you're gonna have, it's a good spot. I can't go wrong, especially for a convenience store.
If the county put some kind of drainage system right on the highway, that's really helped the
Right.
water issues he has.
But
When I did in Churchill, when they were making it, they were not doing I make a big issue that they did that, the water goes in it, all the rainwater.
You say they did that
But
at
they don't have
Churchill?
any provision
Is
there.
that convenience store in Churchill yours?
Yeah, I used
That
to
is?
have it, yes.
Okay. Sorry, I just don't know, so I'll have to
Yeah, I
ask.
did it for 32 years.
Just a question, Kevin.
Yes.
I see under you say that you acknowledge that the Department of Public Works has no comments on this application. They haven't seen it yet, or they've seen it and
They
had no
didn't have
comments?
they didn't have any comments on, I mean, typically they are just looking at stormwater, so at this conceptual level, they didn't have any comments, but we'll certainly get together with them specifically about access distances and
I
things
think
like
you gotta
that.
get with them about the water problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do, because this water is, it's gonna be your problem, because it's gonna come on that site.
Do you know if that inlet out in State Highway, is it clogged? Does anything get to that?
I don't know that anything gets, well, when it finally gets high enough on Porter's Road, it
Then
gets
it
to it.
reaches
but,
over and gets to it? All right.
I couldn't tell you, Kevin. I'm assuming that all it catches is what runs off of 297.
Because that, I mean, at least that's a relief point with a pipe that looks like it goes,
Goes over to a ditch on the other side.
right, that if we can get the water to funnel towards that, then
Yeah,
at least
I don't
it'll
know how you
provide an
want
outlet.
to, but look, I think it's a county problem, you know? I think for years, the county has thought that infrastructure is nothing but sewer and water. You know?
Well, there is an outlet in front of the post office. I don't know if they all connect. but
Yeah,
they're-
we would have to be on the other side of the railroad tracks.
Yeah,
Right.
They don't like utilities underneath it. I mean, they'll allow it, but they charge you like $2,500 a year for it or something.
Got it.
And I don't think that inlet catches anything.
I don't
on the
think so
north side
either,
of
and I'm
Porter's
wondering
Road.
if it's even open, if it's clogged up.
Yeah.
So, but that's one thing that we'll be looking into as we move forward.
That's your job.
Yep.
You good with
Make it
Tom
work.
Chatton?
Anything else?
Do we have the list of adjacent, or not adjacent, do we have a list of the property owners? I saw that
That were
mentioned.
notified?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
we did.
Yeah.
And Bill wasn't on it.
Yeah, he was.
He was?
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't go.
okay.
No.
I've
Yeah,
been
no.
told it wasn't, I'm not supposed to.
He sent his
go.
better half.
Yeah, it says-
Okay.
We missed you, Bill.
I don't go to any of them.
Well, thank you all for your time, and we
Any other
will,
comments,
we'll
Mark?
work hard on it to make sure that it's a good spot for Wharton and safe for everybody, so.
I think
Thank
it's
you all.
a good improvement if it happens.
Look,
Water issue.
I don't disagree that something needs to be done out there, and I'd love to see something out there, but I have a problem, like I say, with safety issues.
All right, well, good feedback, and we'll go to work.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Well,
So we get through it? You done?
No, we got comments, staff reports.
yeah, we got a little general discussion on the map change requests. And probably,
Are we doing that on the 11th
Look-
still?
as far as I know, it looks like Bill's sitting down ready to go with this.
I just want to report out to you sort of what to respond to your discussion last time. We have a meeting scheduled for next Thursday at 6 PM in this room. And we've reached out to all of the applicants, so they're aware that, you know, we asked for some justification, let them know about the meeting, let them know if their request was not to change the zoning, that they don't need to submit a statement. And when we receive changes, I'm editing the packet, so, and I'm saving a copy of all the separate documents. So what I'm gonna do is, there'll be a new posted packet with all the applications, and I will send you all the additions. So if you want to, you can just look at the additions. So there's been a handful of letters from folks. One was withdrawn, and so there's just a notice in the packet says item number 21 was withdrawn, the request of the applicant, so that's out. And the other ones are just kind of supplemental information.
You had one in there for Tommy Lindsay's withdrawn as well.
Oh, okay.
He was ag, wanted to be ag. He just wanted to make sure his taxes didn't change.
Aha, okay. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them, but I just wanted to let you know that, you know, we followed up on those things, and the team are preparing to, Tyler's in the back, to be able to have a map up on the TV screens that will have different layers you can turn off and on and kind of compare things, and we'll have some printed maps for you as well, with PFA, water and sewer service area, existing zoning things, so you have an idea of context for each of the requirements, so.
You say you're gonna have packets ready for us, or?
If you want, I mean, they're going to be identical to the information you received last time with those few additions, and I can send you a separate document, so you just get the few additions. So if you want me to reprint one for you, we certainly can, if you need that.
Actually, I never did get a packet.
Okay, we can reprint that.
Yeah, I would like to get, I like paper.
Sure.
Can I get it? Can I get it?
Yeah, of course. No worries.
Several of the properties have split zoning on the property, and I know the question came up today about how many acres. Will that information be available? How many acres are in each? I mean, they're asking for, so, yeah.
Well-
So some of the, particularly in a lot of the ag, it's employment center, ag, and it's a split zoning on the property. So, I mean, it would be helpful to know how many acres of employment center are there versus ag. Most of the requests are asking to change it all over to ag.
Since GIS, what, we can do a live measurement, right?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe we can do a live measurement.
And along
We
those
can look
same
into
lines
those,
with
sure.
all of those requests, I mean, I'd like to know also information, how much employment center ground is there in the county? So that we can get
We
an
certainly
idea
have
for
that.
how much is
Yep.
representing, that's looking to come out. So just some additional information that might help in discussion.
We certainly have that information available. Employment Center is a very small zoning district. There's
I
not a lot.
understand that.
Yeah.
And being that it's very small and we have several applications asking to come out of it, it's scheduled to get smaller.
More.
Could potentially be smaller.
Yep.
And we're eating it all
The
up
other-
with massive solar panels.
The other question that I had, and in fact, it was germane to some of these preservation requests, was that the property appeared to contain several different tracts or lots. And so the question was, was there a lot line adjustment to consolidate them all? Or are they still two separate or three separate tracts or lots?
Are we talking about the item that was on your agenda?
Well, some of them were on the agenda for preservation, but if there are similar situations in the zoning change request, and potentially there could be, if they're if they're split zones, the question is, are they together or are they separate?
The property that was, there was a property for the districts today that did go through an adjustment of lot lines. And
Is that the big one?
that was the big one, and you could see that where there'd been a smaller parcel, it's been combined. We put in a little kind of Z mark.
Z mark.
Yep.
But originally, there were two 270-acre parcels.
No, it was like a,
And then this little one was number 3. In fact, in the original sale, there were 4 or 5.
Right.
Yeah.
so if there are separate tracts within a deed description, if they are not separately identified tax parcels, we do not have that information and we can't readily give it to you. I mean, that would be doing deed research on every single property in the county.
No, I
Um,
understand.
And parcels and zoning do not have to line up,
No.
so it's not a requirement.
They don't, but in evaluating some of it, then you don't know how many acres you're talking about in
Right.
certain situations. That's why, and again,
Well,
we don't have to be precise, but,
Yeah.
roughly
we
is
can put
half of
together.
the lot we're
Yeah.
talking about wanting to have the zoning changed, or is only 10% over in the corner what's actually asking to get changed?
Right.
And I agree with Sean on that one. That if it's split zoning, that we ought to know.
Well, you will know because it shows on the
shows on the
maps.
map.
And a lot of times, I mean, I've worked in many places and split zoning is, generally not desired, but we have huge, huge parcels and oftentimes that split zoning shows just kind of the underlying uses. It's not like a single-family house that, accidentally got bifurcated by a zoning district at some point. It's generally related to use or intended use. That's the primary reason that I see that it occurs. And it's
It's on-
reflecting something. And certainly, if there's critical area, it's almost always going to be split zoned. If it's larger than the critical area, it has to be. That's required. So we do have a lot of split zoning, but it's for reasons, and when people are, making a specific ask, we'll try to get that information to you. But I don't think we need to try and fix all the split zoning properties, because there's plenty of very legitimate reasons why many properties here are split zoned, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have split zoning, because you
Although-
can't go by property lines. If you're trying to zone by property line, you've got a real problem.
Right. Yeah, they don't have to be
But
coterminous.
some of these requests are coming in as a
yeah.
result of their split
Yeah.
zoning.
Sure.
That's my.
Right, and we can get those numbers for you.
We can get those numbers for you, and there are gonna be a couple of other smaller properties that, due to actions that have happened over the last 20 years, are now split zoned. And even if the property owner did not realize it and make a specific request, I think that we're gonna ask that you kind of give consideration to some of those as well.
So are those already in the packet?
They are not in the packet.
Okay. Will they be in the packet by Friday?
What
By
about the
tomorrow?
ones
No.
that are requesting a specific
We'll see.
zoning that is no longer going to exist?
What now? I'm sorry.
The ones that have requested a specific zoning classification that isn't going to exist after the new ordinance is adopted?
Well, then they would be, it will go to whatever the zoning district is now.
I can see trying to explain that. Some of these guys must have applied for a building permit or something 5 years ago and were told to wait till the zoning maps change or something, because some of those are pretty old. Some of the people aren't even alive anymore.
Well, we started this process in 2020.
Are you suggesting we keep reading?
No, I cannot. I agree with you that a large percent of them's a no anyhow, so.
We'll have some good discussions, I'm sure.
Yeah. And if you all come up with specific questions, as you're preparing, please give us a call. Happy to answer more questions, or individual members.
Did you get justification back from the vast majority of the applicants?
Additional information, there's only been a handful, but there's a number that already have justification. So, but I don't think it's a perfect match, but
I'm just
yeah.
curious. And that additional stuff that you got in is what you're gonna send out?
Right. Well, when we post the packet, the new packet for the new date will have everything in it. But just so you're aware of what's been added, I'm gonna send you just the addition, so you don't have to reread the whole thing if you don't care to.
Right. No,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
You have the packets in paper, in other words, I can come down
We,
and pick one up.
we don't at the moment, we can certainly print them for you. I can't provide them today, but we can have printed
Yeah, no,
packets,
no,
like we
that's-
usually
that's
do for anyone who wants one, yeah.
Yeah, if you could, by Monday, that would be, by Monday morning, would you be able to?
Sure. It'll be posted on Friday, we can print them Monday morning.
Well, Friday would be better, but.
I don't know if we'll be ready to that then. I think Friday's gonna be a late posting. So,
Well, you gotta be home to do that, that's part of my problem, that's why with the paper, it's easier to.
and just to clarify, I'm understanding what Carla's saying, there are some properties that are not in the packet, they will not be in the packet, that have very specific issues that staff would like to discuss with you. So there will be some additional information of a minor nature, so.
All right, so, but Monday morning, would that be noontime, something like that?
I'm off on Monday, so once the packet gets posted, I'll make sure at least 2 copies get printed, but
Yeah, well, we have plenty of folks to print packets for you, Paul, there's no problem
Appreciate
there.
if I could pick it up Monday
Yeah.
morning, that would be great.
Sure.
All right,
Okay.
anything else?
Well, I don't know if there's staff reports or.
Yeah, we got staff reports.
Me? No report, but, if there are ever any legal updates that you want or any topics you want me to report back on, let me know.
I got something for staff. I'll tell you, I'm a computer illiterate, and I'll admit that. And this month, I was probably 4 hours getting this package to print out.
Oh.
But I do have the ability to print it on an 11 by 17, which I do some of them, but I think that these packages need, at the very minimum, the plats at 11 by 17s. I mean, when you look through here and that, you can't read these with a magnifying glass, and, I don't know how we can comment on something that we can't read prior to the meeting.
We are primarily geared for digital viewing on computer
And I
screens.
mean, I just think, I know a lot of people rely on the computer and use it a lot, but I'll tell you, I use it as little as possible. And it's a whole lot easier for me to read that paper in front of me than slide that plat back and forth on that computer screen trying to look at it, so.
It's tough, I agree with you.
And about the time I figure out how to print it, I pushed the wrong damn button, and I'm sitting there for another 45 minutes waiting for those 400-some pages to spool through the print, so.
You gotta stop eating the rainforest.
I tell you what, this was a small package.
Yeah.
It isn't anything to have 100, 200 pages. But I do think that we need the plats, even if they're just available for us to pick up. But,
Perhaps what we can do is at the next meeting on April 11th, hopefully we'll have the full body. We can get a survey of how many of you all need large printed packets, and we'll just make it a requirement for applicants that they submit X number. Right now, we're only asking them to submit 2 copies. One goes in
They're
the
giving
file
you-
and the other one's just in case.
well, they're
So
giving you a PDF, and you certainly have the ability to print out a plat at 11 by 17, I would
Right.
hope.
So that paper is very expensive for
But
us.
it is for us too.
Right, so what I'm saying is, I'd rather make a requirement that the applicants submit enough full-size documents for board members who need them.
I don't think
can
we
do
need a
that.
full-size one, but certainly an 11 by 17 would help.
Okay, we can,
We
why
can
don't
do
we
that.
just, we'll get everybody's druthers, we'll make that the requirement for folks, and then the applicants can submit what you need.
We'll just ask the applicants to give us the 11 by 17s.
Right, but there may be other members who want a full set as well, I don't know, so we'll get it from everybody. We'll just tailor our requirements to match your all's needs.
Although you have to come pick them up.
Right, yeah, that would be helpful.
Will we
That's
have
it. They've been great about printing out stuff for me.
I have no problem picking them up. They used to deliver them, but I have no problem picking them
No, I
up.
said,
I mean.
same thing.
We don't want to add a lot of traffic to your
Riding
street.
around, but
Will we have something like this, though, that shows the zoning areas and whatever, and?
The goal is to have large printed maps that'll be on the desk with you. I mean, we can put them up any way you want. The idea was to have them so that you could be, handling
that
them.
map that Carla had in that package with the numbers.
That actually, I think
with the
Tyler made that
rezoning.
package.
Which what?
The key, the logo.
Yeah, the key map,
Oh.
I
Yeah.
thought that was real helpful. You could save a lot of time.
Yeah, Tyler put that together for us, so.
Yeah, it's 'cause, yeah,
The
something like
locator
that,
map.
or, or with the zoning, I have, granted, when I first started, I got a map of the zoning, and that hasn't changed, but someday it will. That's.
It will
that's the-
someday, yeah.
That's the thing we gotta look at, too. What's the future?
Mm-hmm.
Or what could be the future? I don't wanna say what is, but what could be.
But refresh my memory on the process. We will, the new comprehensive zoning ordinance has been approved by the commissioners, and now it's going to the critical area staff.
The text, yes.
Are they they're only reviewing the critical areas portion of it?
Correct.
And when do you think that would be back?
Not sure.
And it
So what
wouldn't be-
happens-
It wouldn't be adopted till the new maps are adopted or put in place.
The maps have to go to the critical area commission as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Next week could be
the te-
another year.
The text could become effective if we're still waiting on the maps. But we're getting close on the 10-day submission for the critical area staff to go, okay, yes, it's complete. At which point, the chair has 30 days to decide if it is a refinement or an amendment.
I think that's what it's called, yeah.
So we were anticipating that it might, if they like it and it's all good, that it could go to the Critical Area Commission in June. But we haven't gotten feedback yet from them. I've gotten some questions about things they're trying to find. We did work with them before it went to the county commissioners, so I've already had one meeting with them to kind of go over some things in it. We're hoping it'll go smoothly.
And then the goal is the same process will happen with the map. And then when they're both back, then my goal would be to fold them together into one meeting, and the commissioners would adopt them at the same time. And yes, that's probably fall or winter.
Sounds like the Trump
Well, they
trials.
spend a lot of time on stuff like Camp Fairley Manor, wanting them to put a 100-foot buffer on a stream that's 1,000 feet away from where they're building a cabin, but what the hell?
All right. Any more staff reports?
I don't,
Gentlemen, any desire? Okay.
That it?
That's it.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.